We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Gaza truce extended by 48 hours. 11 more hostages freed on day 4. Efforts on in full swing to rescue 41 trapped workers in India's Uttarakhand rat hole mining team deployed for rescue ops. It was glitz and glamour galore at the 54th edition of International Film Festival of India that comes to a close today. The 10-day cinematic extravaganza leaves film enthusiasts thrilled and spellbound. And India to take on Australia in the third T20 international match in northeastern Indian city of Guwahati. India leads series by 2-0. And on to details now. A truce between Israel and Hamas in Gaza extended by 2 days. According to Qatar and the United States, Hamas will release another 20 women and children to Israel over the next 2 days as part of the agreement. U.S. National Security spokesman John Kirby says with the truce extended, more hostages can be freed from Gaza. DD India correspondent Benji Hire has the details.
Yes, thus far more than 50 hostages have been let go and returned to their families, weeks after being abducted during Hamas's deadly attack on Israel. They include a little American girl, Abigail, who turned just 4 years old while in captivity. Her parents were slaughtered in front of her on October 7th. Dozens of young Palestinians have been released from Israeli prisons in exchange as part of this wider swap. And now another diplomatic breakthrough with this deal. Just hours before the 4-day humanitarian pause in the fighting was due to expire, Qatar announced Israel and Hamas have agreed to a 2-day extension, a move that's been welcomed by the White House.
This humanitarian pause has already brought a halt to the fighting, together with a surge of humanitarian assistance. Now, in order to extend the pause, Hamas has committed to releasing another 20 women and children over the next 2 days. We would, of course, hope to see the pause extended further, and that will depend upon Hamas continuing to release hostages.
In a statement on Monday, President Joe Biden said he wouldn't stop until all of the hostages held by Hamas terrorists are released. We are taking full advantage of the pause in fighting, he adds, to increase the amount of humanitarian aid moving into Gaza, and we will continue our efforts to build a future of peace and dignity for the Palestinian people. Israel, which credits the US in helping broker the deal, confirmed that for every 10 hostages released, it's willing to offer an extension of another day to the truce. The administration here hoped to see the pause extended further, but is not calling for a full ceasefire. Benji Hire in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And 11 hostages released by Hamas on 4th day of the truce in Gaza. An Israeli army video said to show Red Cross vehicles carrying the Israeli hostages crossed from Gaza toward Israel on the 4th day of a deal between Israel and Hamas. Qatar said the newly released hostages, all dual citizens, included 3 with French nationality, 2 with German nationality and 6 Argentine citizens. Well, also, the Israeli army released a video on Monday showing containers carrying fuel and cooking gas at the Gaza border. 8 containers carrying diesel fuel and cooking gas were transferred from Egypt to UN humanitarian aid organizations in Gaza as part of the truce deal. The fuel and cooking gas are designated for the operation of vital humanitarian infrastructure in Gaza. Israel said that 200 humanitarian aid trucks are also being dispatched to international aid organizations operating in Gaza. The trucks only carry food, water, shelter, equipment and medical supplies. And German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier, who is in Israel, met Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday. Steinmeier visited Jerusalem to show solidarity with Israel. German President is also visiting Oman and Qatar. Well, NATO Ministers of Foreign Affairs is taking place on Tuesday and Wednesday at its headquarters in Brussels. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also reached Belgium on Monday. Blinken will be attending Ukraine-focused meetings on Tuesday and Wednesday in Brussels and Skopje, where foreign ministers from NATO and the Organization for Peace and Security in Europe are gathering. He will be highlighting the NATO's alliance's ongoing support for Ukraine in its war with Russia in Europe. Blinken will return to Israel and the West Bank to discuss further extensions of the Gaza ceasefire. Well, the gathering of the world's biggest military alliance, NATO, comes as some countries express concern over a wider regional conflict in the wake of the war between Israel and Hamas. From Berlin, DD India correspondent Trent Murray has the latest.
Well, foreign ministers from NATO member countries come together at a time of increased conflict and concern in Europe and the region more broadly. We know for that reason it is a jam-packed agenda ahead for these ministers as they get together. Jens Stoltenberg, the leader of NATO, said that Israel and the situation with Gaza and Hamas would be one of the top agenda items. He called for an extension of that ceasefire in order to try and allow more hostages to be released. He also called on Iran to rein in what he described as their proxies, Syria, Yemen, the Islamist Shiite group Hezbollah in Lebanon, saying that if they continue to get involved, then it could spill into a wider regional conflict. We also know Ukraine will form a very large part of the discussions. There is very real concern here in Europe that going into the winter, the Ukrainians could continue to be bogged down and could even face ammunition shortages, which could hamper their efforts to try and reclaim territory lost to the Russians over the past 18 months or so. And then, of course, there is the discussion of Sweden, the newest NATO member, or certainly wants to be. It's still not able to get into the military alliance yet, and that is because President Erdogan of Turkey has still not signed off on their application. We understand the legislation is currently in the Turkish parliament, but several Turkish media sources are saying they do not expect it to be approved in time for this foreign ministers meeting wrapping up. Trent Murray for DD India, Berlin.
Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to address the World Russian People's Council, with the Kremlin emphasizing the speech's significance. Putin is expected to urge unity against Western pressure. DD India's correspondent Dasha Chernyshova reports from Moscow.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to take part in the plenary session of the World Russian People's Council. The organization is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and the central theme is the present and the future of the Russian world. According to the Kremlin, President Putin will be joining by the video link. Announcing the president's speech, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that every speech by the Russian president is very important. Deputy head of the World Russian People's Council, Konstantin Malafeyev, has earlier said that the speech by the Russian president will be devoted to, quote, the situation of the Russian world after the victory of Moscow in the conflict with Ukraine. Petro Kirill of Moscow and all Russia, representatives of the Russian Orthodox Church, state authorities, public associations, scientists and cultural figures are expected to discuss the issues of migration, education, demography, ideology and economy at the two-day event. On Monday, President Putin addressed the Primakov readings, an international forum of experts. In his speech, he said a new, fairer and more democratic system of international relations was emerging to meet the needs of the world majority. Putin is also expected to hold a big press conference later this year. Dasha Chernyshova reporting in Moscow for DD India.
And in attacks on military barracks, prison and other locations in Sierra Leone on Sunday, 20 people were killed and nearly 2,000 inmates escaped. The assailants started gunfiring across the capital Freetown in the early hours, shocking the West African nation. The government later informed that the attacks had been dealt with. Of the 20 dead include 13 soldiers, 3 assailants, a police officer, a civilian and a private security personnel. 8 other people were wounded and 3 were arrested. Some 1890 inmates escaped from the Padema Road Central Prison after the attackers broke in, the prison officials informed, adding that only 23 returned so far. And Poland's President Andrzej Duda on Monday swore in members of new government that will need to get vote of confidence within 2 weeks, claimed as a farce by opposing parties intended to delay them from taking power after they won a majority in October's election. Despite the opposition alliance led by former Prime Minister Donald Tusk winning majority seats and eager to form government, President Duda called on Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki to do so. Now, Morawiecki needs to win the confidence vote in 2 weeks' time, which seems highly unlikely due to the number of seats. And Irish trade union members and supporters rallied in Dublin to denounce the riots triggered by the stabbing of 3 young children last week. Demonstrators held banners that said, "Fight the fascist threat and unity over division," marking a solidarity for workers attacked during the riots. Earlier, police had blamed far-right agitators for starting the violence on last week after the stabbing incident in Dublin's Parnell Square. Officials have not ruled out any single including terror, keeping quiet about the detained suspect's motives and his personal details. And the 5th edition of the World Nuclear Exhibition kicks off today just outside Paris. More than 650 exhibitors and 20,000 attendees from more than 70 countries are expected at what's seen as the major annual gathering for the civil nuclear industry. Let's take a look at India correspondent Ross Cullen report to know more.
The World Nuclear Exhibition is an opportunity for countries, decision makers and stakeholders in the nuclear sector to come together. And national pavilions will represent some of the major nuclear players globally, including China, Japan, the UK, the US and France. Speakers include the heads of the International Energy Agency and the International Atomic Energy Agency, the EU's industry chief and a range of voices from the private sector. Now, France is arguably the biggest European nuclear power, from the military side and its nuclear deterrent to the civil setup, with 70% of its electricity coming from nuclear energy due to a long-standing policy based on energy security. Earlier this year, President Macron announced 6 new civil nuclear reactors will be built here in the coming decades, with nuclear power at the heart of the country's drive for carbon neutrality by 2050. Now, France and India are working together on what could become the world's largest nuclear power plant, the Jaitapur project. EDF is hoping to build the world's largest civilian atomic infrastructure on the Indian Ocean coast, about 400 kilometres from Mumbai. Both countries have also joined forces to explore the potential of small modular reactors and advanced modular reactors. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi's trip here in July, France and India agreed on a proposal from French energy firm EDF to train Indian engineers and technicians specialising in civil nuclear power. The environmental challenges, advantages and concerns around nuclear power will be at the heart of many of the meetings and talks to be held at the exhibition over the next couple of days. And given the current climate and energy crisis, the theme for this 5th edition of the World Nuclear Exhibition is connecting nuclear to the world, rising to the energy and environmental challenges. In Paris, Ross Cullen reporting for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news across the globe. Peruvian authorities on Monday destroyed more than 19 tons of illegal drugs. Authorities had confiscated drugs in several different operations during 2023. That includes cocaine and marijuana, among others. This was the country's 4th massive drug burn this year. Christmas preparations at the U.S. White House begins as First Lady Jill Biden unveils this year's decorations. The theme for the year is of magic, wonder and joy. The decorations celebrate the 200th anniversary of the holiday classic storybook, The Night Before Christmas. London's Charles Dickens Museum turns into a festive haven ahead of Christmas. The historic location is decked up, showcasing the holiday traditions which the English 19th century novelist and his family enjoyed at 48 Doughty Street, his London address. And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. At least 16 flights diverted after sudden downpour in the national capital Delhi on Monday, even as air quality improves in the city. India shines as global trade and investment destination at India International Trade Fair that witnessed over 1 million visitors on its last day. An Indian state of Gujarat illuminated on the occasion of Dev Deepavali on the occasion of Kartik Purnima. We tell you the significance ahead.
A platform for the developing world, amplifying the voice of the Global South with a focus on the growing economies, resolving the conflicts, showcasing the culture, tradition, heritage and diversity. Watch Voice of the Global South at these times on DD India.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on. Efforts are on in full swing to rescue 41 workers trapped inside the under-construction tunnel in North India's Uttarakhand. Rat hole mining specialists have initiated manual drilling through the debris on Monday. Concurrently, vertical drilling from above the tunnel has reached a depth of 36 meters out of the required 86 meters. The authorities have also now deployed artificial intelligence and robotics technology in the rescue mission that will monitor the health of the trapped workers, also study the environment inside the tunnel. This will provide real-time data to the rescue authorities for better planning of the rescue mission. And in a virtual session at the inaugural India Global Forum Middle East and Africa 2023, India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman demanded tangible action on climate funding and technology transfer ahead of COP28. The event, themed Unleashing Ambitions, brought together various leaders to explore better opportunities between India, the Middle East and Africa. Addressing the challenges faced by developing and emerging market economies, India's Finance Minister highlighted the need for concrete outcomes at COP28. She insisted for a decisive action focusing on funding and technology transfer. The event showcased India's pace of change and growth, positioning the country as an opportunity for global business and collaboration. As the world anticipates COP28, Finance Minister called for concrete decisions resonates as a crucial step towards addressing climate challenges.
I would think the conversations can happen, a lot of talk can happen, but eventually COP28 should show the direction both for transport technology and for the actual funding, be it a blended finance, public and private partnership or philanthropies coming in, but finance it is required.
And Hollywood actor and producer Michael Douglas will be honoured with Satyajit Ray Lifetime Achievement Award at 54th edition of the International Film Festival of India. He walked the red carpet today at IFFI with his actor wife Catherine Zeta-Jones.
Hollywood actor and producer Michael Douglas, along with wife Catherine Zeta-Jones and son Dylan Douglas, today marked their presence at the International Film Festival of India. Douglas is in Goa to receive the prestigious Satyajit Ray Lifetime Achievement Award at 54th IFFI. After walking the red carpet, the family interacted with the Indian press.
Our family loves India. This is our fourth visit. The first three times we're to the north, and now we have the pleasure and the joy and the honor of being here in Goa in the south. I am very grateful to IFFI. You pronounce it IFFI is the best way to pronounce IFFI, to get this wonderful honor. I actually had history of Sajita Ray back in college in the 1960s and taking a film class, and became aware of some of his work and projects.
The actor and producer said he, along with Indian producer Shailendra Singh, are working on a project in India.
The first time I came here years ago was the idea of making sort of a sequel to Romancing the Stone, a movie made many years ago. It was titled Racing the Monsoon. And we worked on it, and you know, the most important part of these is the script, is the material. That's your architectural foundation. That's what everything is based upon. The truth is there's maybe 10 actors that can play the part, but nobody can repeat the structure. And we never kind of got it quite right. And also our film back then required the use of trains, a lot of trains. And of course the best time for trains in India is not the monsoon season, which is also the time when tourism is the busiest. So it was difficult that time, but the script wasn't right. So anyway, Shailendra put his head to it, and we're working as an outline on a script that we're all interested in, and we're going to hopefully go to the next draft of the script.
Actor Catherine Zeta-Jones emphasized her favorite movie of Bollywood is Om Shanti Om. She added that she would love to be a part if given a role in Indian cinema.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of Bollywood. And being a singer and a dancer, I dreamed that maybe the British film industry would do a Bollywood-type film and I would be able to be cast in it. But I wasn't. But I would. I love it. When my kids were very small, my son will tell you that we showed him Om Shanti Om, which was one of my favorite movies.
Michael Douglas has won everything from Oscar awards to Emmy to Golden Globe to Palme d'Or at Cannes. With Satyajit Ray Lifetime Achievement Award, another prestigious award has been added to the list, registering its presence on the global stage.
We are at the last leg of the 54th edition of International Film Festival of India. Apart from other highlights, masterclasses, in-conversation sessions, the biggest emphasis today was on the Hollywood duo Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who came here, interacted with the press and unveiled their plans and what it means to be honored with Satyajit Ray Lifetime Achievement Award. Shama Mishra, DD India, Goa.
And Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi hosted the 42nd edition of India International Trade Fair from 14th to 27th of November. Over 1 million visitors thronged the pavilions during the fair. With over 3,500 exhibitors from across the world, the trade fair projected India as global trade and investment destination. DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh gets us more.
India International Trade Fair concluded on Monday at Bharat Mandapam. This was the biggest trade fair that Delhi had ever witnessed. After successful organization of G20 Leaders Summit under India's presidency, the gates of the newly developed Bharat Mandapam were open for the public for the mega trade fair on 14th November. While India International Trade Fair represents a melting pot of culture and commerce, it is also a dynamic platform to tell the India story. India as a preferred destination for global trade and investment. The trade fair this year was bigger and better organized than ever before. IITF 2023 was spread over an expansive 110,000 square meters of area, while last year's event was held across 73,000 square meters. Over 3,500 exhibitors from India and abroad participated in the fair. Representatives from 13 countries took part in the fair. All 14 exhibition halls, along with the open area and the convention center area, were included. Over 1 million visitors thronged the fair this year. For convenience of visitors, special parking facility was arranged in the basement for vehicles. Dedicated mobile app provided all exhibition, tickets and navigation related information.
This year we have got a wonderful response from people. It makes us feel very happy, you know, when customer is satisfied with your perfumes and there is a smile on their face. We have got a good response and a huge demand from retailers and wholesalers as well.
This time, since the Bharat Mandapam has been inaugurated by our PM, we feel so proud because of all the cleanliness and the other stalls which has been increased these days. So it's very, interesting coming here, and we feel very proud of this. We even feel that whether it's India or we are in some foreign country, because all the new infrastructure which we have been provided is very good and fine.
IITF, with business-to-business and business-to-customer components, is one of the largest integrated trade fairs in the world. At the conclusion, special awards were distributed to participants. India International Trade Fair 2023 turned out to be a great success. It will now return next year. Shubhendu Ghosh's report for DD India.
And now let's take a look at other stories making news today. Indian capital city of Delhi on Monday witnessed rainfall in some parts, bringing down the temperatures and also improved the air quality in the city. At least 16 flights were diverted after operations at the capital's airport were impacted because of heavy rain and lightning. The North Indian holy city of Varanasi wore a magnificent look, illuminated by lakhs of earthen lamps on the occasion of the festival of Dev Deepavali on Monday. Around 140 diplomats, including ambassadors and high commissioners from over 70 countries, witnessed the magnificent cultural extravaganza on the banks of Ganga. Earthen lamps also lit up in Dwarka, city of Indian state of Gujarat, to mark the celebration of Dev Deepavali on the occasion of Kartik Purnima. On this auspicious occasion, we celebrate the triumph of Lord Shiva against the evil demon Tripurasura. It is believed that Lord Shiva defeated the demon on this day. And in sports, India and Australia will face each other again on Tuesday in Guwahati in the 5-match T20 series. India, led by new captain Suryakumar Yadav, is leading by 2-0 against Australia. So far, it augurs well for Team India with 9 T20 matches in the fray, including the one to be played on Tuesday in the northeastern state of Assam. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lepakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.